Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Day the Hungry Gamer is back with another episode of Boards and Brews, and today is a somewhat special one for me because I feel like I pulled off a big old coup here because I managed to convince one of the biggest names in board games to join me today, not as a publisher from his almost eponymous Stonemaier games, half eponymous Stonemaier games, but as a content creator from his My Favorite Mechanism series that he does on YouTube, and that is Jamey Stegmaier of Stonemaier Games. And to just jump right into the rapid fire, because this is the first time you've been on. So the rapid fire questions, I'm going to come at you fast, and you can take them whatever order you want. We have who the crap are you? What is your channel? What is your shtick on your channel? How and why did you start reviewing games? And what is your brewed beverage of choice today?
Well, let's start with the last one. That's the most fun, I think. I brought out I saw that you drink. So the reason I'm here a little bit is that I saw you chatting with Mike from One Stop Co-op Shop. I adore Mike. I adore the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I think we were emailing about that, and then you invited me on, which I was elated to. That wasn't my intention with that email, but yeah, I was absolutely. And I saw you guys drinking, or you were drinking cider from San Francisco, I think, and I was like, oh, I love cider too. And so I brought a local cider. Brick River is a St. Louis company, and this is I believe their blueberry. Let's see, yeah, apple, blueberry, and lavender hard cider. But the blueberry is what really makes it shine. This is my favorite hard cider from Brick River.
That sounds good. So, Fort Point, who still doesn't sponsor me, but Fort Point, make sure you have a blueberry cider in your next batch. As always, I got a Fort Point
Nice.
KSA, and now is St. Louis a good cider town? Because I love me some cider.
This company specializes in cider. I wouldn't say St. Louis is a cider town. You know, we have some big famous breweries here, like Anheuser-Busch, but Budweiser. But this company does really good work. I hope they're distributed elsewhere. But I really enjoy Brick River.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check out Bevmo because if it's that good, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
Maybe when I come out to Origins, maybe they'll have it. That's a little closer to St. Louis than
yeah,
California.
that is closer. Yeah. But the other stuff, I have a YouTube channel where I focus on game design. So as you mentioned, I do run a publishing company, and a while ago I wanted an outlet to talk about games because I play a lot of games, I learn from a lot of games, and I wanted a way to just talk about them, but not in a way that is critical of them as reviewers do. I respect reviewers who are critical in many different ways, but other designers and other publishers are my peers, and so I didn't want to speak ill of them if I could avoid it. And so my channel is just looking at a single game in most videos and talking about my favorite mechanism in that game. And then I've also added like top 10 list type things where I focus on a specific mechanism and then 10 games that I like with that mechanism.
I mean, you're
But
not a
that's
real
yeah,
YouTuber unless you do a top 10 list every so
exactly.
often.
Yeah. That's when you get the badge. Yeah. And so that is my channel. That channel is, I think it's Stonemaier Games. It's found on our website. If you go to stonemeiergames.com, you'll find a link to the channel. That is kind of my shtick. And that's how I got started too. And I'm Jamey. That's who the crap are you? So I think I hit all the questions there.
I think you actually get the trophy for answering those the fastest.
Okay, good, good.
Usually somebody will go off on a 30-minute story about how they washed up on a desert island and there was a
Mm.
copy of Clue there, and that's how they got started. All right, so we are lucky enough. I'm lucky enough for that Jamey's going to join myself for the first two segments at the beginning, and original Don's going to be back on. We don't know what we're going to talk about yet. We're filming this out of order, so we're going to talk about a game. It's going to be amazing. Um, but so we're going to jump in. So the first thing that we always do is, what have you been playing recently? Just a couple of games, and then what is the next thing that's going to hit the table? And I'll jump in with the first one because I've been
Yeah.
talking on, I've been banging on about this game for several months,
Mhm.
and that is Argent the Consortium. And this is an older Euro worker placement game, but it's got two things that are different about it. One, it's hyper aggressive because each of your workers is this mage in this magic school, and you might have be a little fire mage, and so when you go somewhere, you can spend one of your resources and literally send the other mage to the infirmary and take their spot.
Mhm.
And each of these workers does different things, and you're getting spells that you're casting kind of as your overlord wizard. And so very aggressive for a worker placement game. But the other thing that's unique about it is there's no points.
Mhm.
There are, I think, 14 different voters and you're trying to be the new head of the academy, the consortium. And each voter has their own secret goals or desires. Have the most money, have the most mana, the most spells, whatever. And some of them are contradictory. So
Uh-huh.
one might be have the most money, one might be have the least money, or have the second most money. And each person starts the game knowing two that are everybody knows and one more. And throughout the 5-turn game, you have to find out what they want and get what they want. So at the end of the game, you have the majority, not plurality, the majority of the votes. And it is crazy hard. And I am slightly obsessed. Now, Jamie, I don't know if you've ever played this one before. It's an older game.
It's been about 5 years since I played it, but that second part that you mentioned in particular, I remember being a really interesting puzzle because I think, as I recall, there are ways in the game where you can just look at what those goals are, but
Yep.
you can also. It's a great reason just to pay attention to what the other players are doing. If I see Will getting a lot of money, then I probably know that maybe you might be going after one of those professors that wants a lot of money. So I think that's a great. I love when games give you reasons to pay attention to other players.
Yeah. Actually, Don, who was playing with me, he didn't know that mana was one of them. At the very last turn he saw, had 15 or whatever. And so he started racing to get it.
Yeah.
And, he didn't quite catch me, but he saw it. He could figure out what was going on. And I remember another guy, he's a publisher for Dead Alive Games, Bernie, he was playing and he flipped one over. He's like, what? Because he had just flipped over two that were absolutely
Uh,
contradictory.
uh-huh.
And I could see it. And it's a fascinating game. I'm like I said, I'm a little obsessed with it because that's a little bit of aggressiveness is sometimes.
Mhm.
I don't like hyper aggressive games usually, but
Yeah.
just a little bit because it's set up well enough to where yes, I zapped you, you lose your
Uh,
spot, but now you actually get something, and you might have a spell that's going to let you come back out of the infirmary and get something else. It's very complex, like
uh-huh.
with the way the cogs are turning to where you start out like, oh, this is simple, but then later on it's like, hold on, I have 37 spells here with 3 levels each. You sure you want to come at me, bro? And what was really satisfying is we were all positive that the person who came in dead last was going to win
Uh-huh.
because he
Oh,
had
interesting.
just everything, but he hadn't checked the voters fast enough. And
Mm.
so he had nothing at the end, which was just, I don't know about you, but it's like the secret objectives that you have, to get points at the end of the game without the secret objectives. I'm told I'm so enamored with this game right now. So that is my first one I've been playing recently. How about you? What do you got?
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you're having fun with that one. I love the theme of magical academies in general, so I like seeing that in movies, TV, games.
And that's one that actually
Yeah.
Michael Kelly and I talked about is that world that they've done a good job with it because they
Yeah.
also have Imperial spells in Steam, which takes that same world and takes the train game thing and then just
Right.
they solve all the problems with magic. Oh gosh, I don't know how to get there. I don't know. Magic. Poof.
Right.
Gone.
Right.
So but anyhow, so
Yeah.
you're jumping into your first one.
So my first one will segue eventually later in this conversation into the second one, but the first one is Star Wars: The Deck Building Game is probably I think it's the most recent game to actually hit my table because I've missed a few game nights due to something else that was happening. But I have really been loving Star Wars: The Deck Building Game. Have you played it?
I have not. In fact, I did
Yeah.
not even know that there was one. I'm glad my wife is not within earshot because we would have to order it like right now. She is such a big Star Wars fan that I actually, for her birthday, got her picture of us and our dog
uh
turned into cartoon Jedis with the dog as a tiny little Wookiee.
Oh, that's adorable.
And it's her favorite thing she's ever gotten. So she knew about this. So I'm listening hard because I might have to be on Amazon before this conversation's over.
It's a game. It's a little bit like Star Realms. It's a two-player dueling game, and one player plays as the Empire, one player is the Rebellion, and there's like mild asymmetry between the two. The main asymmetry is that if you are the Empire, there are cards that show up in the card row that only you can acquire. Cards like Darth Vader. If Darth Vader's out there in the universe, he shows up in the card row. Only the Empire can gain Darth Vader. Same for the Rebellion. Which side do you think your wife will play in the first game? Will she choose the Empire or Rebellion?
I mean, I will always be the Empire because she will
Okay, you
always be the rebels. Like it's
okay.
that's a silly question. So how can I win as the Empire is what I need to know.
Empire has a lot of power in the game. There's like asymmetry that emerges, I think, as you play the game, based on
Oh,
the
is
cards
this
you
the one
get.
that has the double-sided cards that I've heard?
Yes,
Okay.
That is the big hook in the game. And that, like, even though if I'm playing the Empire, if you're playing the Empire, only you can gain the Darth Vader card and get it into your deck. But while Darth Vader is sitting out there on the card row, based on the way it's facing your opponent, your wife, she can remove him from the card row. She can kind of destroy him and get him out of the galaxy so that you can't get Darth Vader in the first place. And
Because she has
that
the high
interaction,
ground. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And I love that interaction because I'm not directly ruining something that you already invested in the game, but I am directly impacting your decision space. That card is no longer there, and it makes kind of those cards in the card row feel like they're out there doing stuff
Mhm.
because you can interact with them.
Well, because
Really,
you
really
just
enjoy it.
highlighted what my wife's big issue is with competitive games is
Mhm.
you have a plan, and I ruin the plan that you're actively working on.
Right.
Like that, she's not an angry person till you do that.
Okay. Well, she might, given the theme, given that. I hope you get the chance to try it with her because I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's
Yep.
it's easy to get to the table. 20, well, not 20 minutes. We've got 30 minutes, maybe 40 at most for a quick dueling game.
So we have not played a ton and I haven't played a ton of deck building dueling games because that's
Mhm.
kind of two different niches there. Because I mean, the
Yeah.
dueling is usually pretty aggressive. Deck
Right.
building can often be rather passive. So did you find that combination is working well?
I did, yeah. Like the main object. In fact, this ties a little bit to Argent, a little bit, in that you aren't accumulating points, and you're also not reducing your opponent's life to zero. Those two common things are not there.
Mhm.
Rather, um, you have a base in the game. You have a planet usually, and my goal is to destroy that planet. But the game isn't over when that happens. You get to put out another base with a special ability that either triggers when you play it, or it's an ongoing ability, and then that'll happen one more time. So I have to destroy 3 bases to win the game. And the bases add they add a great decision point because when you destroy my base, I get to choose from between 5 and 10 other bases to decide what I really need at that moment or what I need for the rest of the game, as long as that base survives. And so there's like direct interaction with your opponent, but you're really fighting against those bases over the
Gotcha.
course of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna check it out. I'll tell her a Star Wars game, and that's probably what I need to say. I could have this
Okay.
whole shelf just full of Star Wars stuff, and it would be fine. All right, so the second one on my list is
Yeah.
another one I've been banging on about for a while, and I do not say this as a pejorative.
Okay.
This is a strange game, and it's called Crisis at Steamfall, and it's from Tom Stasiak, who did Assault on Doomrock, which
Oh,
is
okay.
its own kind of strange game. And this is either Crisis of Steamfall Genesis is either competitive or cooperative. Like a war game, it has scenarios that you can play. And if you're playing one of two of them, it's fully cooperative and you're playing against the game.
Okay.
And if you're playing competitive, obviously it's competitive and it's a race for points. Now, what's interesting about it, two things interesting about it. The first one is it's an action selection style game, a la Scythe, that kind of action selection. But as you're playing, you are building up however you want the actions. So I put my disc down and I fire off all the actions that are below that disc.
Hmm.
And each character has different actions. And you start different actions that start seated in the spot, but then you can put 2 or 3, maybe even 4 more actions of your choice down below those, which is interesting. And it's also you're building new steampunk kind of inventions that you're putting out. You're adding things on. This is like very tongue in cheek. Like at the end of the game, I had a leaky auto sword that was in symbiosis, and then I had everything connected with a big bundle of cables. Like, and Don had a banana gun that he built. Like, so it's very strange, tongue-in-cheek stuff.
Uh-huh.
So you're doing all this to just accomplish various objectives. So you're going and meeting with just people around the town, and you have a choice. You meet somebody, you can be charming, use your charm, the top hat symbols to help them on their quest. Or if you're feeling salty, you can use threat and say, I'm gonna take you to help you do your job. It's
Uh-huh.
totally up to you. And so you're moving around this board that's made with tiles, always changing. But the real challenge is, I have never played a game with tighter resources
Mm,
ever. You have
mhm.
9 turns the whole game to do everything, and these aren't like Twilight Imperium turns here. I mean, these
Uh-huh.
are relatively quick turns. So you're moving around the board, this crazy art, trying to do these things, and the scoring it comes from secret objective rooms around the board, which you only get to score if you've gone there and left your influence. And moving is hard to begin with. And every time I play it, and I've played it several times now, you start like, this game is impossible. You cannot do any of this stuff. You can't win. But then every time by the end of the game, suddenly you're doing all of this stuff. It is so strange. And I think I love it. But everybody I play it with, the first time, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like one person, the guy who won was like, this game is impossible. You can't possibly get any points. You can't do this objective. You can't do this objective. Last turn, he does everything and wins by like 12. You know, it is lovingly, I say this is the strangest game I've ever played in my life.
What I hope
And
is people are listening to this and they look up a picture of it, because I had never heard of this game, and I'm looking at the picture, and you're right, the art is really evocative and beautiful, and the action building system that you talked about in relation to the player mats looks really cool. Like the puzzly Eurogamer in me wants to try it just for that action system.
yeah,
It's really creative.
it's fascinating because the other thing is you to solve to whatever the objectives are, you insight is what you pick up and you use your insight to get more actions.
Okay.
But insight often is also the way that you're going to get points to win the game.
Mm.
So now you have to choose, do I want to be able to move further or do I want to accomplish this objective? It's he just makes games that are, he must live in a bizarre world. I don't know, but it's fascinating, and it's one that and the really cool thing is the mode that I haven't gotten to play with the most yet is it's 4 rounds, so you get 25% more fun, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But he has this journal, this story deck for each character.
Okay.
Oh, also for each scenario you play, your character has different powers. Like he's built it out for each scenario. You have different cards you use. But there's a journal. When you start the game, you have 1A, 1B. And for round one, you're going to pick the objective you're going to try to accomplish. If you
Okay.
succeed, you flip that card over, you have a new power. And then you pick 2A or 2B for round two. If you succeed, you move to 3 to 4. If you fail one, you failed, shame on you. You just get the loser power, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, it's just so much fascinating stuff. It's just a really hard game. And I
Mm.
think that's kind of the pullback on it. But
Yeah.
obviously, you say you haven't played it, but it's just if you find it, you got to take a flyer on it. Like it's just a
Okay.
fascinating little game, and I keep coming back to it. I'm like, I got to do this again. I was like, you're gonna play this with me. You come on, sit down. No, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. I don't like Euro games. You'll be fine.
It looks really neat. And let me ask before I forget, the if you do choose when you're approaching someone in the game, and you're choosing threat versus, I think, charisma or whatever the
Yeah,
first one was,
yeah, a
what are
charm.
the charm? What is the consequence of using one or the other? What is?
Ironically, nothing.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I'm gonna help you. Okay. Oh, you're helping me. Okay, I'll go. And this person's gonna follow you. They have their own powers and quests that they're trying to do. And like
uh,
the way it all interacts, like some of them are VIPs, some of them are secret people, which doesn't matter until it does. So one of the ones I was escorting was this dog that liked to dig up ruins, but it was wanted, I guess, because the dog ran away or something.
uh,
And I got a wanted poster, so I turned the dog in. I turned in the dog because I was like, well, this seems hard, but I can get a
Mhm.
bunch of money if I turn in the dog. And the whole table looked at me like I was a monster, you know. And so that's his own little kind of like narrative that I'm creating. I was like, well, no, the dog was lost. The dog was lost. I was giving it, and it was a reward because the dog was lost, not I'm a monster and I just sent a dog to the pound. Oh, yeah, so you are on a Star Wars kick today.
Yes. So the reason that we played that deck building game, which I had played a couple times this year, probably 5 or so times, half a dozen times. The reason we played it specifically about a week and a half ago is that we were going and did go on the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, which is a mega game. It's the biggest game that I've ever played because it's essentially you go to this hotel for a weekend or 2 days and you play a giant multi-leveled game for that weekend that's full immersive in the Star Wars world. And
I did not
yeah,
realize it was a game. I thought it
oh
was
yeah,
just an experience.
it is an experience, but it's also a big mega game, yeah, where you it starts out with this app that they call it your data pad, and you'll get maybe the captain will send you a message on the data pad saying, hey, can you go check out the engineering room, something's happening down there, and you have to figure out how to get into the engineering room. You have to figure out where it is, and the engineering room is an actual place in the ship that you can go to that has other games inside of it, like tactile games that you can play inside that room. And then there's the captain, the actual person playing the captain among the Disney cast will show up at different points over the weekend. You can interact with them. They'll talk to you. The cast was amazing at staying in character, but also playing kind of along with everyone who else is playing in this game. Like they learned our names immediately, even though there were like 150 people there. And so you can kind of you can gravitate towards different people and get to know them better. You can go on little secret missions with the captain, for example. So there's all these different layers to this game. I had a blast. My friends and I had a wonderful time, and I was excited to talk about it with you in particular because I know you have a lot of experience with acting and theater and things like that. And this is such an interesting format, I think, for acting.
Yeah, well, and
What?
I just didn't. So I'm totally intrigued now, and now I got to see is this one that they have at Disneyland down in LA? Also, I gotta have to check this out.
I
But
think it's only at Orlando right now.
oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far away.
Sorry. Yeah.
Um, but just the idea, because it sounds like you're taking Escape Room
Mm,
and you're mixing it with Uber fandom and all of the props and stuff that you could want, and
yeah.
then putting actual performers in there, and a good performer and then something like this can just really take you to the next level, which is always, it's a very very hard type of performance. Like
Yeah.
it's a very specific type of actor that's very good at that, because you're improving, but you also have your
Hmm.
script. You have to, because sometimes it's like you're playing a role playing game, like, oh, we're just going to go explore this well. No, 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 no. We're going to go save the world. But I want
Right.
to explore the well. Yes, you do, after we save the world.
Right. Right.
So it's a fascinating thing. And now I'm super intrigued. And I mentioned to you offline, as Cadorkable Gamer used to, I think she just stopped, but she used to work on the Galactic Starcruiser. And now I have to have her back on to talk to her more about it,
Oh yeah,
because
I'd love to hear her thoughts on it. And there are different levels to the cast for sure. Like there's the cast that are they're all in character, but there's some that are fully in character and also trying to move the story along. And then there's more like the crew who are also in character. I don't know if she was playing a
I'm
cast or
not
crew
sure.
member, but either way, like they're all part of the story. They're all part of the game in some way.
Yeah. And did you all win?
We I think everyone ends up winning the game. Like the overarching story, I don't think deviates all that much, if at all. Like it always builds the same climactic moment, I think. But the little stories that we told along the way and how we got there uh, ended up being fairly personal almost in the way that each of us ended up connected. There were 9 of us total in my group, and we all did different things, some together, some separate. Um, yeah,
And
and it
did
was
you
yeah.
feel like you were having like those moments of tension where you're like, oh my gosh, are we gonna? And you know the moments of glory when you like solved it or figured it out, like all of that
Oh
in
yeah,
there, and
oh
for a
yeah,
whole weekend.
for a whole weekend. Yeah,
Wow,
the escape room
that's
comparison is good. Yeah, it felt like we weren't trying to escape, but it felt like we were in that full immersion of a great
yeah.
escape room for a full weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, were each of the groups separate, or did the groups like also have to like work together in some weird way?
Yeah, there are kind of 4 different factions that end up interacting on the ship as part of the story, and you could I based on which you invest your time in on the first day. On the second day, you'll end up having certain activities that only you will do based on 2 of them. So I think you'll end up doing 2 of the 4 big things. And a lot of the, even just like the gamification of the onboarding experience, I thought was great, because on the first day they would do things like lightsaber training, and everyone would do lightsaber training if you want to. And
Who
then on the
doesn't want
second
to do
day, right,
lightsaber
who doesn't
training?
want to
Come
do
on.
it? And then on the second day, there would be something that you learned from that lightsaber training you could actually use for a climactic story moment if that was part of the story that you pursued. So they had all these like little things that were low pressure that you would learn and have fun with, and then apply them to the story the next day. It was an incredible design. I would love to talk to the designers, the Imagineers who put this thing together.
That's that's really cool. I'm actually so my wife's from Florida,
Okay.
and so we don't visit very often, but that might have to be a thing that we work out, because my wife loves escape rooms to begin with. She loves puzzles. She
Hmm.
loves Star Wars. And everyone's working together, and it's
Yeah.
not like against each other. I think this might be truly her jam. So you may have just given me the best anniversary present like in the history of ever. So thank you for that. I don't know how I can repay you, but I'll buy one of your games. I don't know. Uh, all right, so I know I don't have you for forever. So let's just in like 3 sentences
Yeah.
go over what's on the table next. So my first, I've talked about my next one a million times, and that is Madara, the huge dungeon crawl. Dungeon crawls are my what got me into gaming really, and um, I just adore them. And right now, I spent the past week, 2 weeks, just recording video after video after video after video, so I can
Oh,
put this
cool.
on my table for like
Uh-huh.
2 weeks and just go to town, and I can release content, as it comes. So that's my
Nice.
next one's Madara. What do you have next?
I'm excited to see that. That's one that I haven't played, but it's the type of game that I like. I almost like watching it played more than I think I actually enjoyed playing it, and so I will
It's
enjoy watching your videos
it's
on that.
incredibly epic. Just
Yeah,
it's this. I mean, it's 400 pages of story
it's a lot of story.
in Act One. There's 3 acts to this thing. So I don't know if I will ever finish, but I'm okay with that. Like it's just this epic, epic, epic story. It's absolutely worth it if I don't know where you would see it, but if you have a friend doing just drop it in for a game, it's like crunchy as heck. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many rules and different dice and whatever and cards. Anyhow, so what's on your table? We're going to be on your table next.
Well, I cheated a little bit on this one because this isn't a game that ends up on the table at all. I enjoy playing the game disc golf. It's an outdoor, it's an
Yep.
outdoor game. It's a big dexterity game essentially, and it's become part of my life during the pandemic. Play every weekend, and Megan, my girlfriend, has gotten really into it. We have a big group of tabletop gamers who play disc golf, and so we can talk about disc golf and gaming while we're playing disc golf, and we just have a blast with it.
Yeah,
And
I've
so,
actually played. I
yeah.
played a fair amount. My brother
Oh, cool.
Steve,
Oh,
who
yeah.
is well, I guess technically now he really is a designer. He has a game
Uh-huh.
coming out, I guess, in August. I think August. I don't know. Sometime around Gen Con is when it's supposed to deliver. But was a big disc golf player, and Johnny Pack.
Oh,
Um,
really?
he is a big time
I didn't know
disc
that.
golfer. Like he lives not too far away, and
Okay.
he was down in the area, so he just stayed with me for a few days, and we played disc golf. Um,
That's awesome.
he played, I chased my disc. Is kind of what we did. Yeah, it's very relaxing too,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have the pretentiousness of golf
Right.
because I don't know what it's like in say, St. Louis, but out here, like the closest course is in between. There's a freeway going here, a freeway going here, and like a
Uh-huh.
access road here, and then in the middle there's brush and shrubbery and disc golf courses.
Right. Right.
It's kind of all over the place. All right, now the topic that I had you on to talk about was this kind of idea of our other fandoms and when and where they can overlap into our other hobby, being board games.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend most of our time talking about the ones you have because I can talk about those too, and I'm excited about those.
Okay.
I'm going to just briefly. I'm going to say so. One of the things I just in the past few weeks have shut down my theater company. I mean, technically we shut down in June, but we after a decade we're closing our doors for various reasons. But it's a Shakespeare theater, and
Uh-huh.
I love Shakespeare. I studied at the Globe Theater in London, American Shakespeare Center in Stanton, Virginia, which is a reproduction of the Blackfriars Playhouse. I played Hamlet 3 times, been in the 30 of the different play, all this stuff. Huge into it. Every now and then, someone's like, let's get a Shakespeare board game. And I
Hmm.
can't help myself. I have
Uh-huh.
to go after it. I have to get it. And it's a mixed bag. It's the very first Kickstarter board game I ever backed was called Kill Shakespeare,
Okay.
which is about this comic book, which is, all the Shakespeare characters are like after their plays, like who are there before their plays, like
Hmm.
so and so is a pirate and whatever. And it was this. I learned I don't like co-opetition games, is what I learned. It's this game where everyone works together until one person has worked together the best, and it just no. But we
Yeah.
played it once, and we did that thing. But then there's the game Shakespeare,
Right. That's the one I've played. Yeah.
yeah, which is a lovely Euro game.
Mhm.
Like it's a lovely game, and so that one I enjoy, and I have a I don't know where I got it. It's called Shakespeare the Bard game.
Okay.
You're putting on plays, but it's for the real Shakespeare nerds. It's like hard trivia. But for the
Okay.
people who, and that's how you make your money to put on your plays. You got to get props and the very Euro game stuff.
Yeah.
But if you don't know the trivia, you can just do a speech. It's like, here's a speech, read the speech, and everyone tells you how many coins you get.
Okay.
It's a very silly, silly little
Huh.
game. I haven't played in forever, but for what it is, it was fun little stuff. Every now and then, Shakespeare dorks will get together and see what happens.
Uh-huh.
And so there's that one. And then I have Bards Dispense Profanity, which was Shakespeare, Cards Against Humanity, which is,
Hmm.
and there's nothing problematic about this one. I'll put it that way. Which, I took to a Shakespeare conference and that was a hit there.
Oh, okay.
There's like
Nice.
Munchkin Shakespeare, which no thank you. So, about 50-50. But so
Uh-huh.
I can't help myself. I'll always go there. I'll be there and I'll judge myself for going there is kind of what happens.
Right.
But I'm gonna let you go and talk, and I'm gonna pipe in because I'm excited about almost everything that you put on our outline here.
Well, before we move on, let me ask real quick.
Yeah.
What if someone in the future designs the best Shakespeare game? Like, what is the element that you haven't seen in a game that you feel just really needs to be in that game to be a true Shakespeare game? Like, what do you want to see?
So I think there is like Shakespeare, just the Euro game. I think there's a lot of it right. This idea
Okay.
of putting on the shows, and like what does it take?
Yeah.
And actually, Shakespeare the Bard game, the most fun thing it has is you have to hire actors, and they are real, like real actors. You might get Burbage, or you might get Will Kent, or whatever,
Yeah.
or you might get Joe Schmo, who's just a day actor. He's not good, but he can hold a spear.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of part of it. So, but bringing in that history, a little bit. Let's not go crazy.
Yeah.
Is there? But then the language.
Mm.
I think that's what the Shakespeare Euro game misses is
Okay.
the words, the wordplay, the what's happening in some of these speeches, the arcs of the character. Like there's something in there. I don't know what it is, but the words. I think that's the key because there's. I mean, that we. My students get upset when I tell them, I was like, well, Shakespeare didn't have a word; he's made it up. Like, can I make up a word? No, you can't make up a word. But that kind of thing, like that idea of being he was the first person to use elbow as a verb.
Mm.
Like I don't know how you put that in the game. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my make up a word token. Now so I think that's what I think is missing for it. But
Okay.
Shakespeare's still on my shelf. The Bard game will never leave my shelf. Or my box is in the box and didn't quite make the shelf. But
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing, I think. Why are you going to design one? Because I'm here for it.
No, I just want to. I'm nowhere close. I am high school level Shakespeare knowledge. So, but yeah, I was just curious. Curious, see what
Yeah.
you were
And
wanting
it's
to
also on my mind because the last period of the day I was teaching Hamlet to the students,
Uh-huh.
and so we were just going through one of his big speeches, talking about it and breaking it down. And there's a
Yeah.
lovely thing when you teach it well. Wow, that sounded arrogant, didn't it? When you teach it well, though, you talk about it, and then I let the kids talk about chunks of the speech first and ask questions, and then they go, "Oh, that's messed up." I'm like, "Yeah, kind of," you know. As I think about ideas, because it's interesting. At the beginning of Hamlet, if you don't know the play is called Hamlet, Hamlet's kind of a dick. Like Claudius is saying all the right things. He's trying to hold the nation together. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with Hamlet, but I want to help him. Can you find out? You're the heir. I'm going to treat you like a son. It's like he has stepdadding for dummies.
Uh-huh.
And he's following the chapters. And to watch these kids kind of figure it out because none of my students know what happens, which they have no spoilers, which is crazy to me. You know.
Uh-huh.
So anyhow, so it's very much on my brain, but as they're gathering the language and starting to figure it
Mm.
out, that's what I
Yeah.
think is missing from them.
None of my examples go that far into the past. But the way so you asked what am I passionate about other than board games, and I kind of just rattled off a few categories. I love books, I love movies, I love sports, and I enjoy good TV. Um, and this is beyond board games because a lot of my life is board games. But and I mentioned a few kind of recent highlights for me, things that I'm paying attention to at least. With books, I mentioned Brandon Sanderson. We talk about that in a second, but I love Brandon Sanderson's work. He's a prolific writer. This kind of the year of Sanderson because his giant Kickstarter he's releasing those 4 books this year.
Just you are someone who is known as like a Kickstarter guru. Did that break your brain? Because no one even knew it was coming. Like it just showed up, like $14 million or whatever.
Oh, I think 14 maybe. I think it was like 14 after like 2 days. I think it ended up above like 30 million. It was a ridiculous amount. And I see how he pulled it off. But I also had to write a blog post, I think, right afterward. I felt the need to write being like, there are reasons he is doing this that most people cannot do. But Sanderson does it.
I mean, however long he's been writing a fandom that he's created. I mean, I was there immediately, and I told my wife, I was like, okay, what do we want to do? She's like, well, because we listen to the audiobook. I've read a lot of the books, and we listen to the audiobooks. She's like, well, get the audiobooks. Do it now. Do it now. He said, wait. Is it Kramer and Redding? If it's not them, I'm not sure. Like, and he's grabbed it in, and he did an amazing thing of getting the Robert Jordan fans to become his fans. Amazing.
Well, let's linger on that for a second, Sanderson, then we can go to the other ones. But I'm a big fan of his work. I've read most of his books. I've read the 2 books that he's released this year. There are some board games based on it. Like you mentioned on yourself, I think before we started recording, that you have the Reckoners.
Yep, I have Reckoners. I used to have Mistborn. I don't have that one anymore. And is there a third one?
I think there might have been 2 Mistborn games.
Oh, there's a Mistborn RPG. I know that by all accounts is very well regarded, but I'm not a huge RPG guy.
Okay. And for a while I think there were 2 designers that I hold in high regards. I can't remember who they are right now, but they were working on a game for the Stormlight archive, The Way of Kings. But I think they didn't end up pursuing it. I think it just ended up being something they tried and maybe didn't work out. I don't know the full story behind it. But that's
understanding is now that Sanderson's publishing company Dragonsteel is a thing. My understanding is that when IP contracts are expiring, they're not being renewed. So it sounds like they're maybe pulling back, and then maybe he's going to launch his own thing. That's speculation, but it sounds. My understanding is that he's kind of consolidating everything for now, and then maybe it's like going to be a reboot once he gets it fully up and running. I don't know.
I would gladly play a game in most of the worlds he creates. Although the Mistborn one, they chose an interesting angle, as I remember. They made it about the houses in the game rather than, as far as I know, leaning into the characters. Oh, the other one is the what's the game with the little runes that you flick up in the air? Call to Adventure. There's a Call to Adventure.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. There's a Stormlight Archive Call to Adventure. Right.
I should probably play that. I know I would enjoy that. I don't know why I haven't played it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. Yeah, the Mistborn one, and it's why the game itself is plenty fun. It's a pure negotiation game. Like if you've played Moonrakers, that kind of okay, I'll help you if you help me. You're gonna get this, but just pure negotiation. But yeah, it's the background of the first book, like all the political intrigue, which is interesting. But let me play Kelsier and Vin.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. So it was an odd take. But I guess that's why I didn't really catch on. Also. Yeah, like almost anything he puts out that is in those worlds, I would look at. So I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So I'll let you pick 2.
Okay.
Your 2 favorite World Series books in Sanderson. What are you gonna pick?
So I actually did this list on my personal blog a while ago. So I think I put my number 1 as the first Mistborn trilogy. I really love. I think he's grown as a writer since then, but I love that he presented so many little mysteries and questions, some micro, some macro, and that he actually answered all of them within the trilogy. Like nothing was left hanging. He had a reason for everything, and I so rarely see that in a series of books. So that's my number 1, and then the first 2 books of the Stormlight Archive, I really love. I like what he's done with books 3 and 4, but in terms of sheer kind of like leveling up and entertainment, to see characters get more and more powerful, it was very satisfying. I think in books 1 and 2, I really, really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I'm really,
What
I'm
about you?
really,
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that number 5, which my understanding is it's gonna be 2 5-book
Yeah.
series. Which, oh, thank goodness,
Yeah.
my heart couldn't take 10 books.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping there's some huge payoff in number
Mhm.
5 because I mean, so some of the stuff at the end of book 4, like just like, oh my god, but oh yeah, you did it, ugly
Yeah.
cry stuff. So Stormlight Archive is up there, and for the moment, I'm going to say Reckoners.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
is just like this and even that too, he does because that's a young adult series,
Mhm.
but there's real consequence to what
Yeah.
happens to some of the characters, even though it's perhaps out of their control what they've done. There's real consequence, and it's just heartbreaking and great stuff. However, when he puts out more books in the I can't remember what it's called, but with they make the chalk lines and the chalk creatures run around. It's like a
What
oh
is the
gosh,
I'm forgetting the name of it.
I gotta pull it up.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if so, he supposedly is doing another one that's based in America around Native American cultures, and he didn't put it out. He's like, I haven't done enough research yet.
Okay.
But I think he's done the research with the cultural consultants, all those things, and he feels good about it. That world could become number 2 for me because that's an
Yeah.
interesting world to me. Well, we just went to a
We'll
deep,
see.
apparently we're the Brandon Sanderson
Yeah.
podcast here. But so if you don't know these books, you like fantasy novels, though Reckoners isn't fantasy, you're going to be hard pressed to find someone that writes worlds, complex people, and magic better. I
Yeah. He
mean,
combines all. He doesn't miss on any of the three, and he writes it in what I consider a very accessible way. Like he
mhm,
doesn't talk down to you, but it also isn't written in kind of a although you read Shakespeare, so you could probably handle it. But high literature, I kind of I can't I can't last that long, but I can go to sleep on a Sanderson book every night. And he's so prolific too. I think a lot of people may be concerned about getting into a series that isn't finished yet. I trust Sanderson to finish any series that he
yep.
starts within a reasonable time frame.
He finished Robert Jordan's series,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and for my money, finished them better. I know that might be sacrilege, but just
yeah.
the writing itself. Like I liked the
Right.
writing of the last books, but that's why I started reading Sanderson. I was like, I'm enjoying this because I started the Wheel of Time in middle school.
Uh-huh.
I was in 6th grade, and I was, I don't know, 33 when it was finally over,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
forever. If I can have you a little bit longer, you want to pick one more of your things?
Yeah. So I mean, I picked the examples I picked for movies is that I really enjoyed the recent Dungeons and Dragons movies. That's probably the most obvious segue.
Yeah.
The TV, I'm really enjoying the show Poker Face by Ryan Johnson, the guy who does the Knives Out movies. And then I love the English Premier League. I love watching soccer, but I haven't played a soccer themed game, and I haven't Poker Face. I could probably find a game that's kind of a mystery
Well,
game.
you've played poker, right?
Oh, that's true.
There you go. Yeah, I love that you missed that. It's like, oh yeah, this game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh gosh, I've been watching the Queen's Gambit. If only there was a game I could think of, you know. So I'm going to leave you with this question:
Yeah.
do you love Premier League? And if you haven't, if your answer is no, you need to do this.
Okay.
Have you watched Welcome to Wrexham?
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just dumbfounding. The Now that to me, like, so we talk about how Sanderson did his Kickstarter. It's like a clinic on Kickstartering.
Yeah.
That is a clinic on documentary making, and in some ways, it's got to be in like a sports ownership because
Yeah.
by doing that documentary, the amount of publicity and it's dumbfounding what they've done. And that documentary, the way they get you so excited, like my wife doesn't care about soccer
Yeah.
at all, but she was so excited. Spoiler, everybody, when it showed up all over the internet that
Yeah.
they are being promoted,
Yeah.
like so excited. So they're excited for individual people
Right.
in
Right.
this thing. It's just it's an amazing bit of publicity and stuff. It's a fascinating thing.
And I want to reiterate what you said there because I think there are a lot of people that may not watch it because they don't care about soccer. But the documentary, it's little 30-minute segments. It's a documentary show. So much of what they talk about is not about soccer. Soccer is what ties it all together, but it's about the town and the people in the town and the players on the team as people and about the history of Wales. There's an episode about just the friendship that forms between Ryan and Rob. Uh, It's a really special show. I'm glad you highlighted it.
Yeah,
And I became a Wrexham fan. I bought a jacket. I have a Wrexham jacket that I walk around
I
with.
know, like
Yeah.
I will get up if I see that there's a I will get up early to watch that, and it'd be like,
Yeah.
I mean, really early for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do that. So it's just it's a fascinating thing. But I will say, you're right. I don't know of any really good soccer board games out there. Um, there's a couple that have tried that. A friend of mine, he is British, but Mark
Mhm.
Dainty, like he's tried
Okay.
a couple of them, and he's always like,
Mhm.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, he enjoyed it, but it's not one that he's shouting from the rooftops. That you got to try this thing.
Yeah.
So not the, and I don't know what it is about sports that's so hard to board gamify, because I can't think
Yeah.
of many good. I mean, there's the baseball highlights 2730 or whatever it's called that everyone
Yeah.
says is great. But beyond that, I can't think of any that is well loved.
I think the key for me, I think the exception for me are racing games. For some reason, racing games
Mm,
work. And I don't know why they work because I don't care about racing in real life. In most sports, like car racing, I don't care, but I will play a car racing game. But I think the thing is for a sport themed game, it has to be better than watching the sport and better than playing the sport. Like like with disc golf, if someone makes a disc golf themed game, I love that they did it. That's great. But I'd rather watch disc golf and I'd rather play disc golf than play a disc golf themed game. So I think those kind of get in the way of someone getting excited about a sports themed game. But racing games, for some reason, are the exception. I don't know why.
yeah, that's interesting because, yeah, you're right. There are a whole bunch of them. I'm not a whole
Yeah,
bunch, but there's plenty of them out there. I can name three off the top of my head. Right? There's Heat, there's Rallyman, Flamme Rouge.
downforce,
Yeah,
plumage. Yeah,
there's four. Right? Just
yeah,
within what 3 seconds we did that.
yeah.
But I know that you have to get going, so I don't want to keep you. I mean, I will keep you here as long as I can because I'm enjoying myself.
Me
But
too.
I want you to leave us, and we're going to drop this at the end of the episode with your gaming words of wisdom.
Gaming words of wisdom.
It's a
Oh,
big
that's a lot
deal.
of pressure.
I,
Yeah,
I know, I know, but you're big time.
yeah. My gaming words of wisdom, and this is maybe a little bit more about my gaming philosophy, why I play games. I play games for a couple of different reasons. I just enjoy the hobby. I enjoy that level of interaction with people. I'm an introvert. Provides me some structure to interact with people. Um, but for me, the most joy I get out of games is it comes from really watching other people thrive at the table. I like when I do some unique stuff with my strategy. That's fun. I enjoy that. But when I see I almost get more excited when I see other people do amazing things with whatever they're creating, whatever they're building, whatever they're attempting. And so I don't know if that's really a word of wisdom there, but I think it's something maybe to keep in mind. I try to remind myself when I'm playing a game that I'm doing it with other people because I enjoy that shared experience with other people, and I want to be mindful of what brings them joy when they're playing that game. And if I can be a part of that joy, I want to. That brings me joy too. So I don't know if that will echo with everyone, but that's how I play games.
I like that because I'm embarrassed to say it's only a couple years ago I really stopped and thought about that because, like, my friend that I told you about that's it loves parks and loves Wingspan now. So many times when we're hobby gamers, like, oh, what's new, what's new, what's new.
Yeah.
I don't push new stuff with this. So
Mhm.
we play parks, we play Wingspan, and we play the Loop, and we've
Uh-huh.
played them tons of times, but they love it.
Yeah.
And they don't need to dive into something new all the time. So, that idea of, well, wait a minute, what are other people enjoying? And I think it's a great thing to think of. So that's very, it's very wise. Not the word I was looking for, but very wise. You're a very wise man, Mr. Stegmaier.
Do you have something to add there? Something, a word of wisdom that's been on your
Oh,
mind
no one's
recently
made
through your
me do
playing?
it.
Now I'm putting the pressure back on you.
Oh gosh. Okay. So and now I got to think back to what everyone else has always said, so I don't do something new. So I'm gonna go with play what other people want to play.
Mm,
I mean, no, the best times I've had lately are when we've had game days and we just I just released an episode today with bad sound. Sorry, guys, but we made our own little local con. Just we called it Don Con because it was at Don's house.
uh-huh.
But everyone came in with for it was a whole weekend with like two games that they really wanted to play,
Mhm.
and that was it. And so everybody was like, "Okay, oh Jamie, your turn. Okay, so what is it you want to play?" And just
Mhm.
everyone dove in, and it was great because everyone was so satisfied, but no one had this agenda. Sometimes there's the people at the game like, oh, I have this game. We have to do this. Have to do this. Have to do this. And someone's like,
Yeah.
can we just play Tiddlywinks? I can't think of anything.
Right.
But so I think that's it. To sometimes step back and just what other people want to do. Find the joy in that. My wife last night, we finished our dungeon crawl night early because it was a mid-game boss and we just waxed it, like just great luck on the dice rolls and everything. And she said, can we play asking for troubles? And so it was like, I don't know. That was like, sure. So and everyone had a blast, but nobody would have asked for that game.
Yeah.
But we just listened. So I think I'll go with that. I forgot that about you. You do that. You turn it around on people. You gotta remember that. We're happy about it.
When I really like that approach too. I have a gaming weekend coming up in July, and I love the idea of maybe suggesting to people that they bring. I like the number like 1 or 2, maybe 1 to 3 games that you really want to play for a weekend, and because I think so often there could be. It's easy to bring like a giant duffel bag of games, but then it's a giant duffel bag of games where if you only bring like 1 or 2, the people know, okay, Will is really excited about these 2 games. Let's make sure that happens. And for me, I can limit myself to 1 or 2 that I'm really, really excited to play. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because if you have enough people, 1 or 2 per person, like you're still not going to play them all.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I think that's it. That's been fantastic. But Jamey, thank you so much for taking the time. And everybody else, thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, share. Make sure you check out the description. You'll have a link to the Jamey's channel where you can find about the My Favorite Mechanism. And of course, check out Stegmaier Games. He wasn't here as a publisher, but check it out anyway. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, everybody. So welcome back. And even though I said Original Don was going to come on and talk about a game with me, that was a lie, because I have the inimitable, the estimable, the bearded Corey Thompson of Dice Tower Now, and a new thing that's insane that he's going to tell us about. And then we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about Nidavellir. And also, I have to say, Corey is down at his magical Los Angeles studio. And so he's actually coming in on his iPad. So his audio might be a little bit off. So that's just what's going on with that. But really wanted to have him on. So, Corey, first off, we know who you are. We don't know who I am. No, that's fair. That's fair. Because no one scripted it for you this time.
This is true.
We don't know what brewed beverage you're drinking. And we don't know what your new shtick is, and so I want you to tell us a little about your new shtick.
Okay. Well, I went classy, and I went with Earl Grey tea. Just, it's what I had handy in the studio. I figured there's a lot of dangerous equipment in here. If I really had a brewed beverage that knocked me off my rocker, it might be bad. I might be taking over the world. So what I've done is what nobody should do. I started a film studio down in LA called AboveBoard, and we have a lot of really talented people coming together. We've got a cast of about 16, and we do comedic sketch comedy and insane things on video. We just launched our YouTube channel. It's AboveBoardTV. Just on YouTube, AboveBoardTV. And our first video, because people said we couldn't do it, is we played board games while skydiving. So
you littered cards across the greater Los Angeles area?
A little bit, but I promise you, we picked up cards. I'm not going to say if they're the same ones we littered, but we picked up cards.
And so what games did you play, and what was the most successful on the way down?
So we were very successful with Bop It. And the challenge was to play.
You disgust me. You come on my channel and talk about Bop It.
We brought Dan Klitzner, who is the inventor of the Bop It, and he came and commented on our playing Bop It while skydiving, and it worked great. The problem is it's not really a board game, and Dan was the first to admit that. So then we tried throw burrito, and trying to throw a burrito from one skydiving person to another one, That didn't work.
I'm
well.
assuming you threw it and it went like what felt like straight up,
It
right?
just kind of disappeared. Yeah, yeah. Now you say "we" a lot. This all-inclusive French "we." I did not skydive. I am a smart person.
Yeah,
And
so nobody is shocked by that. Like, I
so
don't think anybody had any illusions that you were jumping out of a plane.
our star Leaf Gauntworth, he's our co-host. He did the skydiving, and then he played Uno. And the funny part there is he plays Uno with a tandem partner on his back because they skydive in a tandem pair. So the tandem partner can see his cards just looking over his shoulder. And they tried to play together, but there's nowhere to put cards, and they just fly away. But he did land with a single card left, called Uno, and declared that he had won.
I call shenanigans.
You call
Now,
shenanigans?
see, I would be impressed, and you need to go back and do it again. Too many bones.
We have a plan.
That's what I want to see. I want to see too many bones, or I want to see an entire game of diplomacy. That's what I wanted. A game of diplomacy. I hate that game, but I want to see you guys play diplomacy.
Well, too many bones. Let's go to too many bones. What is the most noteworthy quality of too many bones?
They're heavy as crap, and someone's gonna die.
Well, skydiving's been done. If you were going to play too many bones somewhere,
well, clearly you're gonna play it. Well, if you actually want to play, you're gonna be in a pool or a lake. If you want something that's a little more funny, you'll be in the ocean.
What if we went even more than that?
Submarine. You're gonna go scuba diving, obviously.
There might be a shark cage involved.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with me. So the other really funny part is, so we started a new studio in LA. That's where I am now. And you've got the boring view because this is just games behind me. And it's only like the lowest of the low who film YouTube videos with board games behind them. That's just the cheap.
That is true. That is very true. I mean, you are on this show. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Let me show you what people really do.
And don't show us the bodies, okay?
Oh, I know where the bodies are built. Ooh. So it's going to get a little echoey because I'm going to go into the actual studio proper. And so you can hear the echo.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
And
oh, now I can hear the echo. Goodness gracious.
A cyclorama green screen with a multi-$100,000 death robot.
And where's the chances the death robot comes to life on you right now? That'd be good.
It's pretty low, but not zero. I'm going to say it's a totally non-zero chance. So,
wow, that echoes crazy.
Isn't it? It's a big room.
Yeah, because you're not talking that loud.
No, I'm not. But there's our
Cloudspire.
There's our death robot playing Cloudspire. So I do apologize. I'm looking for the camera flip around.
Oh, that's all right.
There it is. So here you can see Cloudspire, and this is Ichabod Crane, our death robot, who is all.
I'll give you 6 out of 10 for that pun.
You like that?
Yeah, 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. You know.
And over here, this is my favorite part. Don't stand next to the death robot.
Yeah.
No, this is a KUKA industrial robot that's been reprogrammed by Sisu to be a kind robot rather than death robot. And Sisu is into robotic filming. It can, if you want to get technical, the robot, through these controls, can pre-program a 3D path. It can film all around at any speed. And it can output its position in real time to the green screen. So we can do real-time green screen with CGI characters filming. And that's a little hint of what we're doing over at Above Board.
When's World Domination?
Soon.
Okay, good.
First the Sharks, then World Domination.
All right, that's fair.
So
okay, now actually, that is not the worst segue into the game that we're going to talk about, which is Nidavellir. And here's why. Because if you know the theme of Nidavellir, you know you're getting an army of dwarves to go face the big dragon that's dominating the land, like your death robot, and you kind of got a little dwarf thing going with that beard. So here we go. So we're into Nidavellir. That's not a good segue, but I tried.
You did great. You did great.
I
I don't
tried-
know the actual mythology of it very well, but I played Nidavellir not all that long ago at my house with Mike Eckert, who's one of the people who owns KublaCon, and he's very into the mythology and corrected me on how I pronounced everything in the game, which I do not remember at all.
How do you pronounce the title?
I don't remember the right way to pronounce it. It's the traditional homeworld of the dwarves, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also in Marvel, the space station where
the space dwarves live.
Yeah, the one space dwarf who was huge.
Yeah, it's a giant space dwarf.
Yeah,
because of course it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that so that's what we're talking about here. And I like this game quite a bit.
I like it a lot too. It's really interesting.
For the people who don't know, I mean, everyone's talked about this game for a while, but it's a bidding game and set collection where each player is bidding on 3 different taverns, and you have 5 coins, and each tavern, in order of highest to lowest bid, you get to hire a dwarf, meaning you get to take a card, and there's 5 different scoring conditions. The purple and green ones become more valuable the more you get.
Right.
The orange ones are a math equation that you have to do.
They're a multiplier.
It's a lot of
sum up the value of the cards and multiply by how many cards you have.
Yeah, you got to math. The red ones are just pure points plus whoever does the best on those. Ones. Yeah, whoever does the best on those is to add their coin, and then the light blue ones are just straight.
Yeah, straight
adding.
Point.
Yeah, straight adding. But the catch is when you get one of every color, you get to get a bonus card, which is some kind of great dwarven hero, and they do all kinds of crazy, wacky stuff. And then as you add in various expansions, you get even more options there. And the game plays in over, I think it's 8 turns. You draft 8 times.
You've skipped like the coolest part of this whole game.
Oh my gosh, I did skip. Well, that's because I wanted to let the dwarf talk about it.
A bidding game, so you're secretly putting down 3 coins for the 3 different markets. But the cool thing is, at any given point during the game, you own 5 coins. You have the 3 you're bidding with, and the 2 that you have in reserve that you're not bidding with. The big hook is if you bid 0 in one of the markets, you get to add together your 2 leftover coins and take 1 new coin that's the sum of those 2.
And you still get a card. And you still get a card, which is important. You just get probably last choice. Yeah, that's right. That is
constantly upgrading your coins, and you're constantly getting these bigger and bigger coins to bid with. So it's an engine building auction game, which I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's very clever. And you may or may not agree with me on this. I love the pencil charcoal dwarf art on it.
I like the art a lot.
I just love it.
It's really cool looking. So the little bit of history, Nidavellir came out a while ago. I think it was 18 it came out. And it was a soft release in France, and not a lot of people knew about it. It was a company called GRR.
I think it was 2 years ago. I think it came out in America and North America. I think something like that.
So, and Dice Tower got a hold of one of the French copies, and Tom absolutely lost his mind about it. So word started getting around, but a little bit of the sad side of it, the designer's Serge Leggett, who's one of the original designers on Shadows of a Camelot. And we actually lost Serge this year. In January, Serge Leggett passed away. But this is the second to last game that was released from him. And I think it's his crowning achievement. It's such an amazingly good game.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've played a lot with a lot, period. But I've played, also it's really fast. Like
it is. It's an easy, fast, intuitive game. It's just really cool.
Yeah, and you feel really good about yourself as you play. Like always, oh, that was a good move. I'm really good at this game. Even if you get your butt kicked, it's very satisfying. And I think the real core of it is the drafting of those heroes, because there's so many strategies you can do.
Well,
Like,
I think that's the coolest part, but it's also, I think, the weakest part of the game.
yep, that's what you stop taking my stuff,
Hey,
Thompson.
if you bring me on as a guest, I'm going to take over.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, look
by the
out!
way,
There's a death robot behind you. Death robot behind you.
Studio. I'm going to start. I think I'm going to call it the mildly peckish gamer, and we're going to talk about devouring games a little bit. I'm going to use like a little munchy noise. I think.
Good. Please do. You know, I had somebody leave a comment that was furious with me about that munchy noise, talking about how there's 18% of people are disgusted by the sound of eating, and I should consider that. And I was like, watch another channel, dude. I don't know what to tell you, and it doesn't sound real at all. But so that's a thing. So you're not going to get that one guy, or 18% of the people are not going to follow you. But but to agree with you, so it's really cool picking the heroes.
Yeah,
because there's so many strategies, and my favorite example is, and I've only one doing this once. You can go the Dwerg strategy. I love the Dwerg strategy. There's 5 Dwerg brothers. And if you get them all, they're worth like 220.
Oh, you're unbeatable, man.
Yeah. But it's so hard to do because if
Yep.
someone sees you have 3 dwergs, you're like, you can't have those dwergs. And it's also very hard to get 5 sets of things. So it's very hard to do.
Exactly. It's impossible.
Yep. The best I've done is 4.
Wow.
I've done 4 of them once, and I didn't win, which is interesting there. But there's all these different heroes with all these different abilities, and that's what actually will slow the game down.
Because when you get a row across, you have 30 cards to choose from.
Yep.
You can pick any of them, and it's just insane amount of analysis paralysis, especially if it's the first time you're playing the game. Then there's just racks and racks. It actually comes with 3 full racks?
Yeah.
3 or 4 full racks of cards to choose from.
Yep.
It's a little much, but once you're used to it, it really is ridiculously clever, and those extra dwarves are just so cool.
Yeah. And I've also played a fair amount with the first expansion, which I like it. However, I don't always like it. I like it once you really know everything else. Like once you really know those other dwarves, then you add in that other option, which gives you a different. So like if you there it is. So like if you win,
the second.
Yep. Oh, is that the second one? Oh yeah, sorry. Nidavellir is the first. Yeah, I have mine sitting over there. If I was sitting where I usually sit, but it's covered with stacks of Madara that I was playing earlier, so I had to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played the second expansion yet. I bought it sight unseen and didn't know what it meant. I was like, I'm gonna do it, and it's just sitting there. Have you played the second one?
No, I haven't played with it yet. We have it for the studio. I actually today busted open the studio's copy of Nidavellir and Idable.
And what do you know what it does? What the new one does? I don't even know what it does.
There is a new mechanism in there. It comes with class tokens and strength tokens, so you can boost up your cards. But I don't know the details about it. I watched a play with it at one of the conventions, and it looked cool. But here's the extra tokens in it.
Yeah, and so for those of you on the podcast, it's riveting.
I know.
I opened it and I punched the thing out because then I felt like I'd done something with it. And
Of course,
it's just in
but
there.
I wish I knew more about it for you, but I don't.
That's all right. I'll bring it to Kubla Khan. We'll run it through its paces then.
So my tour of the studio probably went over really well for the podcast.
So it's interesting. I might actually have to pull that for the podcast version because it's just echoing. You can't see anything. So I don't know. We're going to find out. So the podcast.
You are my full permission to cut everything I say or do.
Always. Oh, I always do. And I'm going to take all. I just wanted you on so I have you saying a bunch of words so I can string together any sentence I want.
That works for me. That's good. That's cool.
So I don't know. We're clearly both pretty high on it, but it's not all sunshine and roses. Okay, you gotta come on here, and we're gonna talk about the issues. Now we already talked a little bit about there's analysis paralysis that you can get.
Yeah.
The other thing that I find is it's real easy to just kind of fall into it. This is what I do in that game, which is not the game's fault, right? It's a player fault. But it's real easy to be like, no, that's not. I have to get the dwarf that's going to let me change my bid. every round when the thing's revealed, or I have to get the dwarf that does this or this or this.
Yeah.
Which sometimes you play against certain people over and over again, it can feel kind of stale. It's not the game's fault, but it's something that can happen. I'm
I
stretching.
actually tend to go the other way. I tend to always want to try a different strategy. I get
So do
that
I.
grass is always greener effect where I watch someone else play with, the always win ties guy, or with the dwarf you can keep moving from pile to pile so that
Yeah.
you always have complete rows.
Yeah, every time you cover it up, it moves somewhere else because no one can be greater than her or whatever it is. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but I've definitely played a few games where I was like, oh, everyone's just doing the same thing. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's play a different game now.
I think it's really cool. I think the toughest thing is there's a few cards that you can bid on that are not dwarves. And they're cards that basically just purely upgrade your bidding tokens. And it feels a little bit of a letdown to take those a lot of the time. You feel like, oh, I didn't get a dwarf this turn, so I'm behind on getting my piles and getting my rows.
Even though those are those are pretty powerful mechanically speaking, because jumping a coin, like if you jump your low coin up 5, that's like really big. It's huge, but it's so boring.
Yeah.
Like
it feels like a little bit of a wasted turn. It's a rough one to do.
Like that somebody's a pro when they win the bid. They're like, I'm going to take the +5, and then you might as well just quit. You just leave. Like
I'm out.
They
know something I don't know. There are so many different ways to go. So you get the super dwarves if you even out your cards. So again, the cards come in 5 different colors, and each color scores points in a different way. But I've played a couple games where someone focuses on a single color and gets just a ridiculous amount of points on one color, and maybe ends up with 1 row the whole game, but 200 points on green. There's just so many ways to go. It can get insane.
Yeah, it's the last time I play with a couple people fairly regularly on Board Game Arena, just in the kind of turn based, and every so often just take a turn. That's an easy one to play on Board Game Arena because you're always reevaluating every turn anyway.
Well, the scoring's a little bit of a pain at the end too. It takes a little while to figure out everyone's score.
That's true. That's true. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, that can definitely be annoying. First time in a long time, I just won, and I was like, no, I'm not doing anything in particular. I only took hero dwarves that had the colors on them, and specifically, I just was like line, and by like 260 points or something, like the highest score I've gotten in forever. But I've also gotten like 260 points doing something stupid and crazy too. So it's just a really good game. I think it was my number 3 in my game of the year whenever it came out in America that year. And the only reason,
it kind of came out of nowhere. It was a surprise hit.
Yeah, I'd heard So Very Wrong About Games talk about it a little bit, and it just didn't make it. I was like, what are you talking about? Coins, and you're changing coins into other coins, and you people make no sense. But then they said something negative about it. I was like, I'll probably like it. Because I love that podcast, but I never agree with them. Like, ever. There's like 1 or 2 games where I'm like, wow, they were right. And then I had to question myself. I was like, am I wrong? Like, what's going on here?
I think you're usually wrong.
Yeah, well, I do like you. So
yeah, you're wrong about that. That's
you're right. Oh, I don't. I hate you. Wow.
There you go.
That was amazing. But the reason though it didn't finish higher than the number 3 or 4 wherever it finished is because for me, I like something with a little more meat. And at the end of the day, it's a fantastic, really light game. But it's a really light game.
It's a mechanical game.
Yep.
You're figuring out an efficiency engine. You're trying to complete your rows and upgrade your coins, but yeah, the theme is barely hanging on there.
Yeah, but I'll say, Furnace came out the same year, and Furnace is the same. It's a different feeling game, but it's the same type of thing. Like it's all mechanics, and the mechanics are interesting to me. but like the theme, not so much. But at least in Nidavellir, the dusting of theme is something I find interesting rather than Furnace's let's pollute the world with coal, you know, which I think is the point of Furnace. I think it's like let's pollute the most. I think is what you're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
It works out in the end. I don't know my history well, but I'm pretty sure the Industrial Revolution in Britain just ended with a better, cleaner, more beautiful world.
Right. Yes. If you go back and look at any of images, drawings, or woodcuts of Dickensian London, it's
Yes.
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, everybody, we should all hope that one day we can live in Dickensian London.
Yes. Good for children too. It's a
Oh,
nice place
perfect for children.
family.
Great, great career opportunities for kids. You know.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So
right. We are totally digressing here, but so give me your final words on the dev. I mean, clearly we both like it a lot. We didn't have much negative to say about it. Apparently, it's happy fun time tonight. But
yeah, Nidavellir, I really enjoyed a lot. It's one of my go-to games to bring out for new people. People seem to understand it pretty quickly. Just the whole idea of you always have 5 coins and you upgrade those coins over the course of the game. And it's like you said, it certainly doesn't overstay. And it's got a nice little intermission right in the middle. So you play to a point and then you kind of compare and see who's the winner in each of the 5 colors, and you get some super bonuses. And then you play another half of the game and it's done.
Yep.
I do highly recommend the scoring app. There is a beautiful scoring app. You just sit there and you click and tell it what cards each player has and just tells you their score.
Oh, I'm going to Jefferson to check that out. I was hoping you were going to say you just take a picture of your tableau at the end and it does it.
That would be awesome, but not quite yet.
Well, there apparently oh gosh, the Imperium Legends or whatever it is. Apparently, apparently that one, I think you just take a picture of it and it does it.
Wow.
That's what I mean, I've never played the game, but that's what I'm told.
This is the series, like classics and legends and all that. They're all deck builders.
Yeah.
A lot of people have told me I have to play this game. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I have not played it yet either.
Yeah, neither have I. I can't get myself up to do it. I just am not. I'm more interested in like the Legends one, but still I'm sure I'll play it someday. If you bring it to Kubla Khan, we'll look at it and probably not play it.
You're probably right.
I think that's a good plan. Let's plan on that.
Okay, I'll bring like 3 or 4 games we won't play, and you bring 3 or 4 games you won't play.
Right. Now, the last thing I want to say on the Nidavellir is something. I would totally buy metal coins for that game.
Oh man, I don't know. You'd have to get a whole set, and they'd all have to be labeled really clearly somehow. That's a rough call.
But it'd be so cool. The box would be so heavy.
It would. There's so many coins, and there's that stand that almost but not quite works, holding all the coins in their rows.
Now that those bleachers, do you take it apart or do you put it back in the box?
I put it in the hole.
Yeah, that's what I do too, which makes it hard for me to take places because
it all falls apart.
Yeah. This is the hard life that we live.
It is. It's really some severe problems here with Nidavellir.
Yeah, right. But anyhow, Corey, this was supposed to be the short segment, and it's going into as long as everything else. So I'm going to stop.
I talk.
I know, and I do too. It's a very bad habit. It's a good thing you don't actually stay in San Jose very much, or nothing would ever get done. Now, everybody, when you check down the description, not only are you going to find links to Jamey's channel, check out what he does. You'll find links to both Dice Tower Now, which is how you might already know Corey, and AboveBoardTV. Is that right? AboveBoardTV? Is that the right thing?
Yeah, the channel's AboveBoardTV.
Yeah. And you can check that out as well. Toss a subscribe, watch people jump out of a plane, and make sure you comment about that they need to play some real games when they're skydiving next time. I'm thinking like, you can go classic, like Axis and Allies.
I thought Brass.
Yeah, well, that sounds dangerous. I've still never played Brass.
I think it would work fine.
I mean,
jumping out of
and
brass.
I feel that bad I haven't played Brass because for a hot minute it was the #1 game on Board Game Geek, and maybe it still is. I don't know what it is now.
Oh God, it got ugly. People were voting really artificial low numbers for Gloomhaven, trying to drive it down, and um, people were playing Dirty Pool when Brass was up at #1.
I have to say, I wonder if game #3, if they arranged that, because that shot whatever is #3 up for a bit also. So I'm just wondering.
It did. That's
So, in a special event for everybody, usually the guest gets to give the gaming words of wisdom. And so you're going to hear Jamey's gaming words of wisdom. And he actually forced me to give my words of wisdom, which I wasn't ready for, but I forgot. He tends to do that. He always like, yeah, I think so. What do you think? He caught me. And so now, for the first time ever, we're going to have a third set
oh no.
of gaming words of wisdom from the chief dwarf of AboveBoardTV, Corey Thompson. What do you got for us?
Gaming words of wisdom. Just remember, any game is a legacy game if you try hard enough.
Like if you play it by jumping out of a plane?
Yeah, or you just run it through a wood chipper or something.
I assume you'll be doing that. You need to run woodcraft through a wood chipper. Don't do that. Don't destroy the game. I don't like destroying the game. But I do like the idea of woodcraft. How about this?
I like woodcraft quite a lot.
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, and I want to. I'm just trying to get Peter Vaughn to bring it up for KublaCon. How about this? You get extra wooden dice, and you actually cut the dice in half, and you can put new pips on them and stuff, and then you actually have to glue them back together.
That's pretty cool. I think that's a neat idea to create, Frankenstein dice. There's a mathematician who created a set of dice called skew dice.
Oh, I hate it already.
He found out that you can make dice that roll true, but are completely asymmetric. So they look squashed and distorted, but because of the math of them, they roll true.
Oh, that's weird.
Yep.
But no one's gonna believe you though. Like
no
one.
He's got the math. I mean, if you buy them, it comes with this paper and it gives you all the references and all the numbers and how many times they tried it. It's
yeah. You're gonna walk into the D&D day like, no guys, really, I have a math paper to prove this. You're not even gonna believe you.
People are way too focused on the rolling true anyway. It's honestly,
yeah, that's true. I don't.
Weighted dice don't really work.
Oh, really? They don't? You should test that. You should test that.
I know it.
No, but like you should do a whole thing on that. Maybe. That's what you should do. You should do a whole playthrough series or something, and let one person. Dice. Yeah, well, no, like a whole like a tournament of a game. Let one person go in, who's not good at the game, but they get the weighted dice, and see if they can pull it off. I love this idea for you.
That would be pretty cool. There's one guy at Stanford who studies the probabilities of dice and coins, and he's done a lot of really cool studies on this. And my favorite is he studied flipping coins, and there's a lot of papers on it. And it turns out, if you spin a coin on it, you've seen people do this.
Yeah.
Coins have a preferred side they land on if you spin them.
Like individual coins?
Individual coins.
Oh,
so it's not by, dimes don't fall one way and nickels fall a different way. It's every coin is individual. So if you flip a coin in the air and you let it land on a hard surface, it'll almost always spin. And then it's a biased flip because it'll almost always land on its preferred side. So the old adage that if you flip a coin, but then you let it land on the ground, probably makes it a more biased flip.
So you really do need to grab it and do that, flip it over onto your hand.
Or at least grab it in the air.
You have to flip it over. I don't know why you flip it, but you got to do it.
You got it. It's showy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So as always, Corey, thank you so much for hopping in and joining. We're going to have you back on for a full-on episode at some point soonish.
Sure.
And everybody, make sure you check out all of his nonsense. And at the very least,
a lot of nonsense.
I mean, it's a lot of nonsense, everybody. I love playing games and hanging out with Corey. But when you do, there's some nonsense going to happen. So everybody, make sure you check everything out. As always, thank you so much for watching, listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all those different things. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
See y'all.
Yeah. Stegmaier awards professional guy member.
I didn't see a mention of the drink on here. Are we doing the drink thing? I had a cider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird. Do I not have
I'll add it to the intro here.
Yeah, I mean, I won't, just for your ego. I made sure that one.
Oh, nice.
Look at the fancy man in his fancy studio.
Thanks.
And so I was like, well, maybe I can get Corey to come back on now that he's got something to hawk.
I could try.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, the only beige Euros I really enjoy.
I like the beige thing.
Yeah. All right, we're out.
That was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.